What's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. I appreciate you guys for tapping into another Akem'S analysis. I got a great video for you guys today. First things first, Sportsbet Montana is the exclusive betting partner of Akem'S analysis and the Samuel Akem YouTube channel. They are also Montana's exclusive sportsbook for all your sports betting needs. Get tapped in with all the odds, spreads, or featured bets through Sportsbet Montana today. Montana and Montana State are both heavy favorites this week, so don't miss out on the action. Go check out Sportsbet Montana today. Your game, your bets, your state, powered by the Montana Lottery. Okay, we got a great video today. It's going to be freaking amazing. Montana takes on Cal Poly for homecoming. They are wearing the copper jerseys, so we'll talk about that game. Next, we will talk about Montana State versus Idaho State. Idaho State took Montana to the wire, so we will talk about that Idaho State team. There's some numbers that say Idaho State is better than a lot of people give them for, including myself, so we'll talk about that. Next, we are going to be talking about UC Davis versus NAU, a ranked matchup in the Big Sky Conference. Seems like there's a ranked matchup every week. We got a ton of ranked teams in the Big Sky Conference, so that should be the expectation. Next, we got NDSU versus Southern Illinois, another ranked matchup. That's the FCS game of the week, so that is a very exciting game. I don't think it'll be very close, but we'll talk about that. And then lastly, we'll get into North Dakota versus Youngstown State, another ranked matchup. I think Youngstown State is still ranked, but UND most definitely is ranked. I think Youngstown State is like 24, towards the bottom of the stats perform poll, but we will talk about that. UND, I think, is a really, really good team. I think they're going to stress a lot of people in that MVFC conference out, so we will talk about that. And then finally, we will get into our No Huddle Notes. We're talking about some things going on across the rest of the FCS landscape, and then we'll be done with our video. So please make sure you guys hit the like. Please make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Please make sure you guys leave me a comment down below, and we will get straight into it. Okay, we got Montana versus Cal Poly. Montana's favored by 18.5. I don't know if the line has moved at all. I checked it this morning. It was at 18.5. Heavy favorites. It's homecoming, so this game is going to be very interesting. Homecoming is an interesting week, obviously, because there's a lot going on at the university. There's a lot going on for the football players during that week. I'm sure they got a lot of family, friends, people coming into town, so there's a lot of distractions. And this Cal Poly team is not bad. They lost to UC Davis in a close one last week. The score was closer than what the game actually was. I think in that second half, UC Davis kind of separated themselves from Cal Poly, but I think the final score was like 27-20 or something like that. It might have been 34-27, but it was closer than what I thought it was in the second half of that game. But the first thing that my mind goes to when I think about this Cal Poly team and this Cal Poly game is Michael Briscoe. Michael Briscoe is the top receiver in the Big Sky Conference. He's got about 500 yards. He's leading the Big Sky Conference in receiving yards. He's one of the top guys in the country in receiving yards. He's got 7 receiving touchdowns. I'm sure that's towards the top of the FCS as well in the country. And he's just an extremely explosive receiver. Last year he averaged 20 yards of reception. Throughout a lot of this season, he's been averaged 20 yards of reception. I think he's more near like 18, 19 yards of reception, but he's still extremely explosive. Last week was probably his worst game of the season, where he only had 40 receiving yards, but I mean, he is a huge piece for this Cal Poly team. And given how the secondary of Montana has been playing so far this season, I was on PFF last night and I was doing some digging on some of the individual numbers for some of the defense, for the defense of Montana, and the coverage numbers are not great. They're not great at all. I'll spare you the time of going down the numbers and all that stuff, but it doesn't look good. Now, obviously, how much stock do you put in PFF's numbers? These guys are just judging it based on a 0 or a 1. Did they know what this guy's job was? Yes, fair. There's always going to be an explanation to analytics. Like numbers, science, analytics, there's always like some factors that led into those numbers being those numbers. But still, the numbers hold weight to an extent. Obviously, there's a metric they're using to judge these players. Obviously, if that metric is not being met, those grades are going to reflect that. Now, there is validity to the fact that they don't know what a player's particular assignment was on a particular play. So a player could be outside of the play and they deem that as a 0, when it's like, oh, I was actually doing what I was supposed to do. They told me to stand off to the side, so I wasn't going to do anything. So you take that into account. But obviously, the numbers, I think, hold weight to an extent, but you always have to take them with a grain of salt. Same with any numbers. Like when you look at some of the scoring numbers, like Montana's averaging, it says per Big Sky Conference, Montana State is averaging 18 points a game, giving up 18 points a game defensively. But if you've watched that team and if you've watched their FCS games, they are not giving up 18 points a game. They're giving up closer to 10 points a game. And, that Oregon game is a huge outlier. But you got to get into the numbers. You got to do some real digging to understand that. When I mention Michael Briscoe, my mind immediately goes to what is the status of Keon Loud. He was out last week. I'm hearing it's a shoulder injury. I don't know the extent of the shoulder injury. I don't know what the nature of the shoulder injury is either. That is that. He was in a sling when he went out in the game against Idaho, and then we didn't see him against Idaho State. So that is the huge question. I think Kenzel Lawler has really stepped up since Keon Loud has went down. Against Idaho, Kenzel Lawler had his best game as a Grizzly. And then against Idaho State, we didn't really hear his name much against Idaho State. A lot of those passes that were completed were across the middle. I didn't really look at his numbers on what he was giving up and what the completion percentage against him was. But I know a bulk of the yardage was completed against Prince Ford. That's not an indictment against him or anything like that. It's just a fact of the matter. Like, he gave up a lot of receiving yards, and, that's what it was. So I will look for the Montana defense to be cleaned up this week. I'm sure that was a topic of discussion this past week. But I do want to say this about Idaho State. And I'm going to mention this when I start to talk about Montana State as well. But while I'm on the topic, talking about what happened to that Montana defense last week, I was looking at PFF's numbers. And I know I just went down the line of talking about, hey, you don't have to put all your stock into these PFF numbers, but they do hold weight. And per PFF overall grades, the first team in the Big Sky Conference is Montana. The second team in the Big Sky Conference is Montana State. The third team in the Big Sky Conference is Idaho State. So you can say what you want, and obviously I feel like I was the loudest voice on this Idaho State team and on this Montana defense. I do think, I do stand by my point that I don't think this Montana defense is a championship defense yet. But after looking at the numbers, after doing some more reflection on where Idaho State stands at, Idaho State is not a 2-4 football team. I mean, they are a 2-4 football team because that is the record they have. But I think they're better than what their record shows. They played 2 FBS opponents. They played, I know they played UNLV, but they played somebody else and they lost as well. But I'm pretty sure it was a pretty close game. But they lost to Southern Utah. Maybe they only played one. Maybe they only played one FBS team. But they've lost a bunch of close games, like games that they've been in and they've had an opportunity to win. They haven't been able to finish. And I think that's one of the biggest things. First off, when you mention Idaho State, they don't play defense. They have probably one of the best, if not the best, offense in the Big Sky Conference, and their defense just does not measure up. And it never has. If you think about the history of this Idaho State team, their defense has never measured up. So I'm going to get off Idaho State because I realize we are previewing Montana versus Cal Poly. When I think about Cal Poly, when you look at the grades per PFF, Ty Diefenbach was the highest graded quarterback, and I know I tweeted that out earlier on in the season. He hasn't played. It's been Bo Kelly. And Bo Kelly, like when I look at even the passing numbers in the Big Sky Conference from individual people, when I go to the numbers right here, let's go to offensive leaders in the conference. Let's go to passing. And when you filter it based on yardage, you got Bo Kelly, who pops up at 12th in the conference at 518 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. I believe he is their starter. He's the guy who I would say is probably going to play this week against Montana. But then you also have Anthony Grisby Jr., who's also on these numbers. And then you got Jackson Akem'S, who also is on this statistic as well. Both have thrown more than 30 passes. Both have multiple interceptions. So it seems like Cal Poly has played quite a few quarterbacks this season. I don't know if they necessarily could land on one, but it seems like they've landed on Bo Kelly. And I would say that's who I expect to be running out there. Now, obviously, I'm not at practices. I'm not talking to these coaches. I haven't talked to anybody from Cal Poly. So we very well could see one of those other 2 quarterbacks, Anthony Grisby or Jackson Akem'S, and we could see Ty Diefenbach. So I have no idea what to expect. One thing I do know is that who is the offensive coordinator at Cal Poly? I'm asking that rhetorically because it's Tim Rosenbaugh. Tim Rosenbaugh is the offensive coordinator at Cal Poly. He was the longtime offensive coordinator in Houck's second stint at Montana. He was my offensive coordinator at Montana. So I gotta believe, I don't want to say that Coach Rosenbaugh was fired, but I think his time at Montana was up. And I think it was kind of a situation where it's like, we don't really need you here anymore. You can go. The reason I'm getting to that And I haven't heard any confirmed reports about that. That's just my speculation. I speculate that they kind of pushed him out of the door and said, hey, you can go. We don't need your services anymore. So looking back on it now, you got a situation where Coach Rosie is coming back to play Montana. And I believe Coach Pease was the offensive coordinator in 23, 24, and 25. So Rosie has been there since 2023, if I'm not mistaken. Because I don't think Rosie was the OC. I'm pretty sure Pease was the OC in 2023. Fast forward to now, and I don't think Montana has played Cal Poly yet. No, they went to Cal Poly last year. Never mind. What I was gonna say is, well, it still holds weight. Coach Rosenbach is a Missoula guy. He grew up probably watching the Grizzlies. Obviously, he played at Washington State. Like, this is an opportunity for him to come in and upset the Grizz. This is an opportunity for him to come in and make a statement. This is an opportunity for him to come in and say, hey, you guys fired me, but I didn't go anywhere. If anybody has any motivation to beat the Grizz, it's Coach Rosenbach. So I expect the offense to be firing on all cylinders. Looking at the numbers of Cal Poly, they are the number 11 rushing offense in the Big Sky Conference. So there's 12 teams in the Big Sky Conference. Cal Poly is second to last in rushing offense, averaging 109.5 yards a game. I think that is something that the Montana defense can exploit. I don't think Montana's defense has been bad against the run. I think that's probably what they've been best at in the Montana defense. They've been best at stopping the run. They're third in the Big Sky Conference, allowing 161 yards per game on the ground. So they are not a bad run-stopping defense. Are they the best? Not necessarily. I mean, 161 yards isn't great either, but that's near tops in the Big Sky Conference, at third in the Big Sky Conference. So near last rushing offense for Cal Poly, near the top in rushing defense for Montana. That's a place where they can really set their feet in and force the hand of Cal Poly. I think where you win with this Cal Poly squad is you make them one-dimensional. You make it to where they don't want to run the ball at all. You make it where they can't run the ball at all. And you exploit that. If you're Cal Poly, the way you exploit this Montana defense is you got to hit shots over the top. You got to exploit that passing, that secondary of Montana. Now, I'm of the belief that they have some good players on that secondary, like Dazelle Wilkinson, who's played really well. Micah Harper has played really well. Kenzel Lawler has been better, as the weeks have gone on. So there are some bright spots on that secondary where, if they continue and improve, they can end up being a very good secondary in the Big Sky Conference and in the FCS. But currently, they're not there. Cal Poly is also second to last in the Big Sky Conference in sacks allowed. They've allowed 14 sacks in the season. Montana's off defense has not been able to get to the quarterback. They didn't record one sack last week against Jordan Cooke, and they only have 5 on the season. So this is a week for Montana to impose their will defensively. I know I said that last week. I was probably a little ludicrous for saying that last week because given how good that Idaho State offense was, I don't know what made me expect that they would be able to kind of put their thumb down on them. If they were truly a championship defense, I felt that way. And I'm not saying they can't be a championship defense. I'm saying currently, with the way they play the pass, they are not. But this week is an opportunity for them to do that. I'll be interested to see who they put on Michael Briscoe. I know they don't. I don't think Montana's corners really travel that much. But I gotta say, if Keon Loud is healthy, he would probably be the primary defender. And if Keon Loud is not healthy, I would say put Kenzel Lawler on. Also, I want to mention Deontay Gentry showed up last week, had an interception. The young freshman getting more and more playing time. I expect him to be somebody who gets more and more time as he gets more time on task. You watched Keon Loud last year, and he was up and down, but he got the playing time, and now he's the best corner on the team this year. I expect the same thing for Deontay Gentry. If Deontay Gentry can continue to improve, I see him being, a stable piece of that secondary. Montana's defense, here we go. Cal Poly, no, I don't want to say that. So Montana has to make improvements in keeping their QB protected. They are number 10 in the Big Sky Conference in sacks allowed. That is not good. So Cal Poly is number 11 in sacks allowed. Montana is number 10 at 12 in sacks allowed. So Montana has not been doing a great job at protecting the quarterback. They haven't been rushing the passer well on the other side of things, and they haven't been protecting their quarterback well on the offensive side of things. So definitely something that needs to be cleaned up. Cal Poly they sit at third in the conference in sacks at 14. So that is nothing to sneeze at. They are good at rushing the passer. They can get to the passer. So something to pay attention to. Another player that I was paying attention to on this Cal Poly defense is Mikey Diamato. 65 tackles on the season, 23 of them solo. He's averaging 10.8 tackles per game, 4.5 sacks, and 5 tackles for loss. So he's an extremely disruptive player, and I think that's somebody who needs to be circled on. I know it's somebody who will be circled on the scouting report. So the two players that I think Montana needs to look out for, Michael Briscoe on the offensive side of things, and I got the number right in front of me. He's averaging 19.6 yards a carry. He's got 530 yards on the season, 7 touchdowns on 27 receptions. And then Mikey D'Amato for the offense. That's somebody who they need to key into and make sure he doesn't make a big impact. Obviously, for the Cal Poly side of things, Michael Wortham is somebody they need to watch. Eli Gilman is probably somebody they're going to be keyed in to stop. And if I think about offensively, those are the two players. Defensively for Montana, I would say probably Peyton Wing and Elijah Tolbert are the players that Cal Poly needs to key into to stopping. On the outside, maybe Micah Harper and Dazelle Wilkinson. Dazelle Wilkinson does a lot of things around the line of scrimmage, coming in on blitzes, and he's really good in coverage too. So those are a few players. But one last stat I wanted to bring up, which is so staggering. Montana is last in the Big Sky Conference in sacks at 5. I might have already said that, but they're last in the Big Sky Conference. So, they have not been getting to the passer at all, and I think it's something that may end up rearing its ugly head as the season goes along, but it's something to pay attention to. Montana not been rushing the passer well. They're last in the conference in being able to sack the passer. I would say, given that Montana is favored by 18, I'm going to pick Montana to win, but I think Cal Poly is going to cover in this game. I think Cal Poly is going to keep it within 18. It's a homecoming game. There's a lot of distractions. You got Tim Rosenbach coming back who, would love to have an upset in Missoula with his squad bringing him back in here. So I got Montana winning this game, but I think it'll be closer than what the 18.5 spread says. You guys let me know what you think about this Montana versus Cal Poly game down below, and I will move on. Big Sky champs bring the shine on the field. Now bring it home. L&M Fine Jewelry has the sparkle you need to celebrate your MVP. In Missoula on American Way and in Kalispell on Main Street. Shine on. L&M Fine Jewelry is the official jeweler of Akem'S Analysis, as well as the Samuel Akem YouTube channel. Make sure you guys go check them out when you're trying to get that ring for that special person. Michael and Landy are the owners of L&M Fine Jewelry. They do a phenomenal job. They have 2 locations, like I mentioned, one in Missoula on American Way, and the other is in Kalispell on Main Street. Go check them out. L&M Fine Jewelry, your diamond destination. Okay, next I want to talk about Montana State versus Idaho State. Montana State is also favored by 18.5 per Sports Bet Montana. And I don't know. I don't know. Looking at this game, it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. Sorry, I'm starting my timer. I don't want to go too long on one team for too long, so I try to start my timer now. But like I mentioned in the Montana section, I know some of you Montana State fans might not watch when I talk about other teams, but per PFF, Idaho State is the 3rd best team per their PFF overall in the Big Sky Conference. So you got Montana at the top. Montana State is number 2. Idaho State is number 3. So that's something to pay attention to. Obviously, Montana State has the best defense in the Big Sky Conference. I think there is no better test for this Montana State defense than this week. I know I said last week that was a good test for that Montana State defense, and it was. Holding NAU to 10, I think it was 10 points they held them to. That was really, really good. Being able to hold that NAU offense, who had been super explosive, who had been making plays all over the field, being able to hold them down to 10 points is good. But this is a different beast. Jordan Cooke is the most talented quarterback in the Big Sky Conference, and it's not really close. I mean, his arm strength, his ability to put the ball wherever he wants, I mean, he has an immense amount of talent. And when he played the way he played last week, not turning over the ball, not giving well, actually he did have an interception last week, but that's the thing with Jordan Cooke is like he's super, super good. He can put the ball where he wants. He can throw the ball over your head. He doesn't have to have a set platform to make all the throws. Like he can do all the things. It's just the trying to throw across your body, trying to make the, oh my guys down there throws, and a lot of them end up in interceptions. So that's what he's got to stay away from. But this Idaho State team is good. They are a formidable opponent. Let's look at some of the numbers of Montana State. So they are number 1 scoring defense in the Big Sky Conference at 18.2 points per game, but that's their number with the Oregon game included. You take the Oregon game out of that, this Montana State defense is giving up 10 points a game. That is by far best in the Big Sky Conference, and it would be one of the best in the FCS had they not had that Oregon outlier in there. So understand that. Number 1 rushing defense in the Big Sky Conference, allowing 110.5 yards per game. Idaho State doesn't really make a concerted effort to run the ball, or at least they didn't last week. Like, I felt like Idaho State was getting yards on the ground when they ran it last week, and they just didn't really go to it much in the second half. They just didn't really make an effort to run the ball last week. So that's something to pay attention to. Also, Montana's defense did a better job of stopping them on first down when they did try to run it at times, so that got them out of that. But also, I don't think they really make a strong effort to run it all the time. Sometimes I feel like they pass a little too much. I feel like they could lean into their run game a little bit more. I mean, you think about this Idaho State offense, they've only given one sack up all season long. That is best in the Big Sky Conference, and I know that would be best in the FCS. Not best in the FCS, but one of the tops in the FCS. That would be near the top of the FCS. I'm sure there's a ton of teams that only given up one sack, but they would probably be tied for second in the FCS. Like, they protect the passer. And it's not like Jordan Cooke is extremely mobile, like he's moving around. Like, he is mobile, he can get out of the pocket, but he's got a bum knee. He's not 100%. So, I mean, the fact that they've only given up one sack, give credit to the Idaho State offensive line. They do a phenomenal job. So yeah, but Montana State is number 4 in the Big Sky Conference in sacks. So, got a team that doesn't give up a lot of sacks. You got a team that can rush the passer well. What will that look like? Montana State offense, also looking at their defensive numbers, they're number 3 in passing defense, allowing 185.8 yards a game. So just defense all over the place. Their numbers stand out to you. Montana State also is moving up that average on rushing yards. They're number 2 in the Big Sky Conference now in rushing, behind, I believe they're behind Montana. Let me tell you. They're number 2. No, they're behind Sacramento State. So Sacramento State is first, averaging 202 yards a game. Montana is now number 3. Montana State is number 2 in the Big Sky Conference in rushing right now. So they I mean, balance. So when you look at their passing offense, Montana State is throwing for 214.5 yards a game. They're rushing for 199.3. I would love to know when the last time Montana State's average passing yards was more than their average rushing yards. But also, exactly what they said a couple of weeks ago that they wanted to be, a balanced offense, and they have been that. Another number for you on the Montana State defense, they are number 1 in third down conversion percentage defense. Offenses are converting 28.4% of their third downs against this Montana State defense. That's 3 out of 10 first downs, less than 3 out of 10. Less than 3 out of 10 third downs teams are converting. Less than 3 out of 10. So, I mean, they are extremely effective. They're extremely good. And to throw it in there as well, they're number 2 in third down conversion percentage offense. So they're converting almost 50% of their third downs on offense at 47.4%. So, I mean, the numbers say it. The eye test tells you it. This Montana State team is very, very good. But Idaho State is right there. They have a ton of talent. I mean, the receiver position is really, really good. Dason Brooks, their running back, is really, really good. That D tackle, Lewis, number 97, is really, really good. I think this is more of a down year for the Montana State offensive line compared to what they've been in previous season. They're still super effective, really, really good. They can run block better than anybody. I mean, they're really, really good. But if we're talking about how good their offensive line has been in previous seasons, I would say this is probably one of the worst that they've had. Lewis is a problem and can rush the passer, so that's something to pay attention to. One statistic that I wanted to look at, 2 straight quarterbacks have thrown for over 350 yards against this Idaho State defense. 2 quarterbacks, 2 straight. So the Northern Colorado quarterback threw for 390, almost 400. He was like 393. And then Cali Ayat of Montana threw for 350 on the dot. 2 quarterbacks, 350 plus yards passing. So this defense has given up 700 yards passing in their previous 2 games. Justin Lamson, Taco Dowler, Chris Long, all the boys at Montana State. It's a day. It's time to have a day. It's time to have a day. And I know Taco Dowler has had his moments. Chris Long has had his moments. Jabez Woods has had his moments. It's time for everybody to eat this weekend. I think this is an opportunity for a couple of things. I think this is an opportunity for Justin Lamson. I think he's had some good games, but has he really had that game? Has he had that game where it's just like, oh my gosh, he was perfect. He threw the ball all over the yard and like he lit them up. I think this is an opportunity for him to do that. But also, I just lost my train of thought. I think this is also an opportunity for if I already think Montana State is the best defense in the Big Sky Conference. I already think they're one of the best defenses in the FCS. This is an opportunity for Montana State to make no question about it. No, we are the best unit in the Big Sky Conference. We are one of the best units in the country. And if they can really hold this Idaho State offense down, that will really be telling. Now, Cody Hawkins is a really good offensive coordinator. Jordan Cooke is a really good quarterback. I mean, they got a lot of things in their favor offensively that help them be explosive. But I think this is an opportunity for Hunter Parsons. I almost said Grebe. Bryce Grebe, Zach Cruz, all those guys. Paul Brott. They have a ton of successful pass rushers at Montana State. Zach Cruz, Paul Brott, Kenneth Iden, Hunter Parsons, all those boys over there. It's a time for them to pin their ears back and get there too. But remember, Idaho State has only given up 1 sack this season, so they're not going to make it easy on them. Yeah, I think one of the biggest differences that could help this Idaho State team out is their ability to run the ball. If they are able to find their run game, if they are able to run the ball consistently, if they are able to consistently get yards on the ground in the run game, I think Idaho State could pose some problems for Montana State. But like I mentioned, Idaho State is the number 8 rushing offense in the Big Sky Conference. And then they got the number 11 passing defense in the Big Sky Conference. So, I mean, statistically, they're not very high. But another thing that Montana State's offense needs to be wary of. Idaho State is number 2 in the Big Sky Conference in sacks at 16 sacks. They're behind Sac State, who's got like 22. I think they got 22 sacks on the season. That is something to pay attention to. How well and how uncomfortable will the Idaho State defense be able to make Justin Lamson back there? Because there were many times where you're watching Ayat in the game last week and he's standing back there, and I believe they gave up some sacks to Lewis, that pass rusher. I mean, a ton of pass rushers over there were able to get in the backfield and make Ayat uncomfortable. He tried to scramble multiple times, and at times he wasn't able to escape. So Montana State's got to protect. They got to get that run game going. But I think Justin Lamson can really have a field day over the top, beating up that Idaho State defense. Looking at the spread of this game, given how good the Montana State defense is, I think Montana State could cover and win this game by 19 or more points. The spread is currently at 18.5, but it could change. It could fluctuate. We may see that number go up or down. But I do think this could be an opportunity for Justin Lamson to have a big day. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay, we now are going to talk about the Big Sky game of the week, being UC Davis versus NAU. Caden Pennick. I see you, boy. I don't have his numbers last week right in front of me, but he graded out really well. I think he had like a 90 PFF grade. He threw the ball all over the yard, 300 passing yards. He had a ridiculous touchdown pass. I showed it in my recap video. But Caden Pennick, I mean, he's still a freshman. We'll probably still see some freshman moments as we go on throughout the season, but he had his best game of the season last week against Cal Poly, and they really needed it. They were playing good competition, and it just seems like, I don't know, just now thinking about this, when you watch this UC Davis team, it seems like they play to the level of their competition, whether it's good competition or it's bad competition. It seems like they are ready to meet the moment, but also it's like they play down to their competition. I think no matter who the competition is, they play to that level outside of UW. But like in the FCS, whoever their competition is, they play to that level. Like when they played Utah Tech, I think they played down to that Utah Tech level. When they played, did they play Southern Utah? Yeah, they did play Southern Utah. They played down to Southern Utah's level. When they played Cal Poly, are they much better than Cal Poly? Or, I mean, the truth of the matter too for this UC Davis squad is we haven't necessarily seen them play any like top tier competition. They have not played a top 10 team yet. Cal Poly was receiving votes. They haven't played Montana State yet. I don't know if they play Idaho this season, but they haven't played them yet either. And is Idaho even really a top 10 ranked football team? They're probably more likely closely related to a top 15, top 20 football team, but we haven't necessarily seen it from UC Davis yet. But they have been performing. Now, mind you, I talked about this in my recap video, but Rex Connors, it was announced that he's going to miss the remainder of the season. So how much will that affect the UC Davis defense? He is a big piece of that defense. He's the career leader in tackles for UC Davis. And he just flies around, and I'm sure his voice as a vocal leader is big for them. And just losing a piece like that is a huge loss. I had Brock Galvin on of the UC Davis football podcast last week, and he was talking about some of the guys that they have that can sub in for Rex Connors, and I hear that, those guys are going to do a fine, and I'm sure they'll do a fabulous job. But Rex Connors is a multiple-time All-American. Rex Connors is a multiple-time All-Conference player. Rex Connors is that guy for a reason, and you can't just replace a player like that. So that's something to look at. NAU lost their first FCS game last week against NAU and against Montana State. This will be another test for them, and UC Davis is not as good as Montana State defensively. So how will they be able to exploit the UC Davis defense? NAU before that game was one of the top offenses in the Big Sky Conference. They had put up a ton of points. They played a 50. They put up 50. I think it was against Southern Utah. And then I think they had some high scoring against Incarnate Word as well. UC Davis offense is good. Ty Pennington is good. Ty Pennington had a 300-yard passing game early on in the season. I think he's been throwing the ball all over the yard. I think Ty Pennington actually still leads the Big Sky Conference in passing. Ty Pennington leads the Big Sky Conference in passing with 1,500 passing yards, 9 touchdowns on 2 interceptions. So, Ty Pennington is going to take care of the ball. He's not going to put it in harm's way. And he's going to be extremely efficient. He's not going to try to put the ball in harm's way. He's completing 61% of his passes currently this season. Justin Lampson leads the conference in completion percentage. Then you got Eric Gibson at Northern Colorado. Then at third is Keali'i Ayat. So I would expect Ty Pennington and the NAU offense to have a better game than they did last week. One player I am paying attention to have a better game than they did last week is Kobe Katsis, the number 1 receiver at NAU. He had been playing well. He's a really explosive player. He's got a lot of speed, but he dropped a ton of passes last week. Not a ton, I don't want to say a ton, but he dropped like 2 or 3 passes last week, and he wasn't really a factor. I think he had like 40 receiving yards, and he wasn't somebody that he wasn't somebody that Montana State defense had to fear. And he should be a threat every week. He should be a threat for any defense that you're playing against. He's your number 1 guy. And obviously you got to put the onus on him as well. The plays were there to be made. He did not make the plays, and ultimately they lost, not because of him not making the plays, but they lost that game. And that was a piece of it too. So something to pay attention to. I would love to see Kobe Katsis have a better game. But when you talk about this NAU defense, they're good, not great. When you look at the numbers defensively for NAU, they're number 9, or that's offense. They got the number 8 scoring defense. They got the number 5 rushing defense. They got the number 6 passing defense. They're 8th in the conference in sacks. And then they're 9th in the conference in third down conversion percentage defense. Teams are converting about 41% of their third downs against this NAU defense. So defensively, they're not great. And I think that's something to pay attention to. UC Davis, on the other side of things, is converting about 41% of their third downs. So right in line with where the NAU defense is. UC Davis offense is converting 41%, and the NAU defense is allowing a 41% conversion percentage on third down. So something's got to give. If you look at the UC Davis numbers, they're number 3 in scoring offense. They're number 5 in rushing offense. They're number 6 in passing offense. They're number 12 in sacks allowed. So that's something I wanted to pay attention to, which is staggering as well, because I know how athletic Caden Pennick looks to me from the eye test. When I watch him, he looks like an extremely athletic player. He can move around in the pocket. He can make guys miss. The fact that they are number 12 in sacks allowed, last in the conference in sacks allowed at 15 sacks allowed, that is something to pay attention to. We came into the season thinking that this UC Davis offensive line was going to be one of the best in the conference, and it's looking like they're one of the worst units in the conference. So what is the reason for that? Why is that the number that we see? How much does UW play into that number as well? How many sacks did they give up against UW? So I don't want to completely say that they're the worst unit in the conference because they've given up all the sacks allowed and all that stuff, but the numbers tell a certain story. And then on the defensive side of things for UC Davis, they're 11th in the conference in third down conversion percentage defense. That is something that Ty Pennington definitely needs to exploit. I mean, Ty Pennington's got to have a game. I don't really know who. I lean towards UC Davis in this game. I think UC Davis has more weapons. I think UC Davis has looked better throughout the season, but I know how fickle games like this can be. I know how it can go. I know UC, like NAU gets a lead early, and then they play good enough defense in order to win through the fourth. But UC Davis could also boat race them. UC Davis could get up early, and they could put up a ton of points, and then we're looking at this UC Davis team differently. I think one of the biggest differences that I've seen with this NAU team from 2024 to 2025 is their ability to run the ball. I mean, they have not been a very strong rushing team this year. They're number 9th in the Big Sky Conference in rushing offense at 141 yards per game, and they didn't really run the ball strongly against Montana State. Now, I am mentioning the best defense in the conference, so take that for what it's worth, but they have not been able to run the ball very well this year. And I think it's something that forces Ty Pennington to really use his arm more than they would probably like him to. Because if you look at Ty Pennington from last year, he looked more like a game manager. Like, he could throw the ball, he can complete the passes, he can use his legs when he needs to, but he is going to manage the game. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way a ton. He's not going to throw a ton of interceptions. He's not going to fumble the ball a ton. Like, that is who I saw Ty Pennington as in 2024. In 2025, it seems more so that they're asking him to throw the ball more. Now, maybe it was something that they saw. Maybe he has that capability, but it seems like they want him to air it out more, and it seems like they want him to use that piece of his game. So that's what I'm paying attention to this week in this game. How successful can Ty Pennington be using his arm? Yeah, it comes down, for me, it comes down to the NAU defense being able to stop Caden Pennick and that UC Davis offense, particularly Jordan Fisher and Carter Vargas in the run game. How can the NAU defense stop them? How can the NAU defense stop Caden Pennick from using his legs? And then do they have the defensive backs? Do they have the secondary to be able to stop the receivers of UC Davis? Samuel Batu is one that I think of. Ian Simpson, the tight end. I can't even think of some of their other. Mateo Perez is another guy over there on that offense that is a weapon. But they got to stop the UC Davis offense. So UC Davis offense against NAU's defense really is the big matchup for me. But I like UC Davis in this game. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comment section below, and I will move on. Okay, we got the game of the week in FCS football. NDSU versus Southern Illinois. It's a ranked matchup. NDSU is obviously the number one team in the country. Southern Illinois, I think, is at 6-7, somewhere in there. But they're near the top. They're top 10. But I don't think Southern Illinois is that good. I'm going to be real with you. I do not think Southern Illinois is that good. Now, I know I said this about Illinois State, and they ended up playing a close game against NDSU. But the thing that I point to, it's the same thing I pointed to with Illinois State. This Southern Illinois team has not played anybody. They haven't beat anybody with a better than 500 record. They haven't beat a team that has a record of better than 500. I mean, they've played some bottom of the barrel teams this year. They played Indiana State. I believe they played an FBS opponent. They lost that game. But then their FCS competition has just been. They didn't even play. One of the teams that they beat was a Thomas More. It was like Thomas More, and I think they're NAIA or D2 or D3. They beat up on them. But, I mean, Southern Illinois has not played a bunch of teams. They haven't won meaningful football games. They have not won meaningful football games yet this season. This is their first game that matters, that will really, I mean, all the games matter. But this is their first game that really would lead to, playoff implications. Obviously, it's going to have MVFC implications, all of that. I don't even need to name the numbers for NDSU. I say this every week. They are number one in everything. They're second and third down conversion percentage behind Southern Illinois. And their second and third down conversion percentage defense, I think South Dakota State or North Dakota is one of the top teams in that. I'm looking at Southern. Yeah, they're second and third down conversion percentage defense. They're second and third down conversion percentage offense. And then they're second in sacks and fourth in sacks allowed. But if you look at their scoring offense, scoring defense, rushing defense, passing offense, and passing defense, NDSU is number one in all. Cole Payton has looked really, really good. He is, for me, he's the front runner for the Walter Payton. And this NDSU schedule, if you look at this NDSU schedule, they have a gauntlet. They played a ranked South Dakota team. A lot of people would say they probably weren't ranked, but when they played, they were ranked. The next week, they play a ranked Illinois State, and the week after that, they play a ranked Southern Illinois. I think they have a week off. They play Indiana State, and then the week after Indiana State, they play a ranked South Dakota State. A week after that, they play a ranked North Dakota, and then a week after that, they play another ranked team, maybe Youngstown State. I think it's Youngstown State they play. We will see if Youngstown State is ranked at that point. But still, I mean, North Dakota State's schedule is no slouch. Go look at their schedule. They've already been through a couple of teams. They're going to go through a ton more teams, including this weekend in Southern Illinois. But North Dakota State is going to have to go through the ringer to end up being the one seed and be the number one team in the country. And if they do it, watch out. If they're not able to do it, I think that shows that there's a little bit more parity in the subdivision this year than what a lot of people have thought. But the numbers for Southern Illinois, number 3 in scoring offense. These are all MVFC numbers. The number 3 in scoring offense, number 3 in scoring defense, number 4 in rushing offense, number 6 in rushing defense. They are number 6 in passing offense and number 3 in passing defense. The number one statistic that I look at for the Southern Illinois squad is they are number 1 in third down conversion percentage at 54%. So more than 50% of their third downs they're converting. That would be one of the tops in the country, and it's most definitely number 1 in the NVFC. Behind them is North Dakota State at 50% conversion percentage. So they're doing a really good job of staying on the field on third downs. Now, obviously, like I mentioned, you have to understand the competition that they've played. They haven't played super top tier competition, but they still are a top ranked team. They still have shown to be a successful football team. So it's something. We will see. We will see. I believe their quarterback at Southern Illinois is a really good player. I think he's kind of the guy that makes things go for them offensively. When you look at the numbers, he's leading the conference in passing yards. His name is DJ Williams. He's 1,200 passing yards, 67% completion percentage. He's got the second best completion percentage in the conference behind Cole Payton. So this might be a matchup, and it's seeming like, well, Jerry Kaminsky is a really good quarterback, but DJ Williams is a really good player as well. I would say Jerry Kaminsky, to me, is probably the second best quarterback in the Missouri Valley, and then I would say DJ Williams. But both really, really good players. DJ Williams leading in passing yards. He's got 11 touchdowns on only 2 interceptions. That's really, really good. He's averaging 242 yards a game. So, I mean, DJ Williams is playing at a high level, but also I mentioned once again, and I'm not saying this to kind of just like downplay DJ Williams or what he's done this season, but like, who have you played? And it may not matter, but it does matter. It does matter. You haven't necessarily played anybody. Therefore, who am I to say that you are just this juggernaut of a football team and that you deserve that you are going to measure up with NDSU? I don't think you're going to. And that's not an indictment on Southern Illinois. That's just how highly I think of North Dakota State. I think North Dakota State is an absolutely phenomenal football team. I think their quarterback is phenomenal. I think their number 1 receiver is phenomenal. I think their running back is phenomenal. I think they play really, really good defense. They're very sound. They hustle to the ball. They play with effort. I mean, I could go on. I'm not trying to glaze the Bison, but I've just watched this team, and I think this team has a lot to it. I think this North Dakota State team, it's going to be very, very hard for anybody to beat this team because they play clean. They don't have a lot of sloppy mistakes. Their quarterback does not put the ball in harm's way. Their quarterback can escape the pocket. I mean, they just make life hard on you from every point. From the first snap to the last snap of the game, North Dakota State makes life hard on you. Southern Illinois will have to have their best game of the season in order to make this a close game. SIU has been amazing on third down, first in the Missouri Valley. If they can continue that trend, they will be able to make this game interesting. And I think that's the biggest thing. Being able to stay on the field on third down, not getting behind in the chains, being efficient with all your play calling. I think the play caller of Southern Illinois is going to have a really big day. But yeah, I will say this. For what I've said about NDSU, this will be the best team that Southern Illinois has played this year, I think. Now, we will see what that looks like after this game. They might not be as good as Illinois State. Illinois State ended up being pretty dang good. But I think that this will be the best team that Southern Illinois has played, or that North Dakota State has played yet this season. So will we see a test? I don't know. This is most definitely probably the best quarterback they've seen thus far this season. So there's some tests there for North Dakota State that they have to pass and that a lot of people will be waiting for them to pass. But we'll see. Like I mentioned earlier, Southern Illinois has not beat a team with a record of over 500. So, you know, I've said what I said. I don't think I just don't think Southern Illinois is going to pose a real serious test in North Dakota State. And trust me, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I have some Southern Illinois fans in my comments telling me I was wrong. I'm dumb. Let me have it. If I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong. I don't care about being wrong. I don't care about being wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So let me know. But I do think we are looking at a wagon in the North Dakota State Bison. So we will see. I mean, but yeah, you know, I got NDSU. That may not be the case. We will see. But you guys let me know in the comments what you think about this North Dakota State versus Southern Illinois game. I think it could be close. I don't think it will be close, but I think there's a chance it could be close. So you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments below, and I will move on. Okay, we got North Dakota versus Youngstown State. This is going to be a big test for North Dakota. And a big test for Youngstown State too. Like, I think Youngstown State is a good team. Bo Brungard is a good quarterback, but Jerry Kaminsky, man, he is nothing to sneeze at. This man, let me talk about Jerry Kaminsky's numbers real quick. Let me go to NVFC. Jerry Kaminsky currently has, where's he at? 1,000 passing yards, 14 passing touchdowns, and only 1 interception on the season. Extremely efficient. He's completing 61% of his passes. Would love that to be in 65% range, 65 to 70% range, but 214 yards a game. Jerry Kaminsky is playing at a high level. I think he's the second best quarterback in the Big Sky Conference. I know what DJ Williams brings to the table, but I think Jerry Kaminsky has just been better in some of the moments, and I think North Dakota has played better teams. Sure, DJ Williams' numbers look good, but who have they played? And I'm not trying to downplay Southern Illinois, but it's a fair question. Who have they played? North Dakota, on the other hand, has played very formidable competition. They lost to K-State by 3. They came in Missoula, lost by 1, and then after that, he's looked good. He has looked good. So based on the competition that they've played, based on what he's looked like playing against that competition, I think Jerry Kaminsky is a very, very, very good player. I put UNC on here and I meant UND. But I said this. I am of the belief that North Dakota is the second best team in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Yes, I think they're better than South Dakota State. Yes, I think they're better than Illinois State. Yes, whoever you want to name, I think North Dakota is the second best team in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. Now, obviously, things will decide themselves as the weeks go on, but where it currently stands, based on what I've seen, I would lean towards that North Dakota team over than I would lean over South Dakota State. I think North Dakota has played better. I think they've looked better on both sides of the ball. I don't think they've looked as sloppy as South Dakota State, and I think the quarterback play is better. And I don't think there's a lot of South Dakota State fans that would disagree with me about that, with where Chase Mason is at right now and where Jerry Kaminsky is at right now. I think Jerry Kaminsky has looked extremely good, and I've already talked about that. Youngstown State, they played SDSU tight for a lot of that game, but late in that game, the South Dakota State run game, go watch my breakdown, they ran pin and pull to death. They ran pin and pull to death. Pin and pull, pin and pull, pin and pull, pin and pull, pin and pull. Julius Loffridge. He had 170 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. What are we talking about? I think Julius Loffridge probably leads the conference, probably leads the Missouri Valley in rushing. No, he doesn't, because South Dakota and LJ Phillips are who they are. And then Bo Brungard has 656 rushing yards, and then Julius Loffridge is at 3rd in the conference. But we're talking about North Dakota right now. Obviously, that's why I was bringing that up. The run game made a big difference in that game. Youngstown State was not able to stop it. I don't know how much pin and pull, how much G scheme North Dakota is running, but if they do have the ability to run it, that may be something they want to look at. Now, obviously, a lot of teams with the way they run the ball is the way they run the ball. Like Montana State, they're a zone run scheme team. They run a ton of zone run scheme. If you look at UC Davis, they run a ton of G scheme. So they're running power, they're running counter, they're running pin and pull. A lot of that. Montana is a lot more zone than you do see G scheme with Montana, but still. North Dakota, I don't necessarily know what they are. I can't remember what they did when I did the breakdown against them, but if they have the ability to run pin and pull and they do it at a high level, let's try to work that in there. But Youngstown State is a good team. Bo Brungard is really where everything starts for this offense. Let's look at the numbers for North Dakota and Missouri and Youngstown State. For North Dakota, number 2 scoring offense in the Missouri Valley, obviously behind North Dakota State. The number 4 scoring defense at 19.2 points a game. They play some really good defense in the Missouri Valley. They have like 3 or 4 teams who are averaging under 20 points a game on defense. So Missouri Valley is coming with it this year. Now, obviously, they're going to start beating up on each other, and we'll see those numbers we'll see what they look like at the end of the season. But currently, as it stands, before last week, now they only have 2 teams that are averaging under 90 yards, averaging under 100 yards per game on the ground. North Dakota State is one of them, and North Dakota is the other team. But before last week, they had like 4 or 5 teams who weren't giving up 100, who were giving up an average of like 90 yards a game on the ground, which is crazy. But number 4 scoring defense, number 5 in rushing offense at 196.6 yards a game, and number 2 in rushing defense at 93 yards a game. So they are very good at stopping the run. And I expect them to do the same thing against Bo Brungard and the rushing attack of Youngstown State. Number 2 in passing offense at 229.4 yards a game behind North Dakota State. But just like I mentioned, Jerry Kaminsky, BJ Fleming, one of the best receivers in the Missouri Valley. Let's actually see where BJ Fleming sits at in the Big Sky in the Missouri Valley Conference. BJ Fleming, dang, he's not even up there. He's at 5th in the conference at 358. tops in the conference is Vincent Davis the third. And then you got Daniel Sabkowitz. I didn't really see him last week. Anyway, next you got seventh. They're number 7 in passing defense. They're number 5 in sacks allowed. They're number 3 in getting sacks. They're number 7 in third down conversion percentage. And then they're number 3 in third down conversion percentage defense at 34.2%. On the Youngstown State side of things, they're number 5 in scoring offense, number 6 in scoring defense. They're number 3 in rushing offense. They're number 4 in rushing defense. Number 4 in passing offense. Number 9 in passing defense. Not good when you're playing against Jerry Kaminsky and BJ Fleming. They can tear it up. They can throw it over the top. That's something to pay attention to. Number 6 in sacks allowed. Number 8 in sacks. Number 5 in third down conversion percentage. And number 5 in third down conversion percentage defense. So those are the numbers. Youngstown State ranks out about middle of the conference. On average, UND is towards the top in a lot of their numbers. But some of their numbers like passing defense and third down conversion percentage, they're near the bottom of the conference. So there's things that can be done against North Dakota where you can find success. I mean, that's where the Montana team found success in that second half. They started to protect the passer a little better, and they started to call some good plays, and Ayat started eating and completing passes over the top. So that is definitely something to pay attention to. But I like North Dakota in this game. I think Youngstown State is a formidable team. I don't think they're a playoff team yet, but I think they're a good team. Like, I would relate them to like the Idaho State of the Big Sky Conference, of the Missouri Valley Conference. So they're going to play a lot of teams close. They're maybe even up in some games, but ultimately they probably won't win a lot of games and their record won't be very strong. But you'll look back at that team and think, dang, that was a better team than what their record says, which is what I currently feel about Idaho State. They're 2-4, but if you watch them play any football at all, you know they are better than the 2-4 football team. They just got to learn how to finish. Same thing with Youngstown State. Got to learn how to finish. I think North Dakota State, and two, North Dakota, something that their coach mentioned after the game really, really stood out to me. He said something about like, you know, they were talking about losing that game, losing it by 1, and, you know, how it hurts. And he said, you know, we're past the point where we say, we'll be better. Like, we got to be better when our best is required. We can't look back on a game that we lost by 1 and say, oh, well, we'll be better here, we'll be better there. No, let's be better now. So I think they're in that mode where it's like, let's not look past where we've been, or let's not be happy with where we're at. Let's go further. Let's not say, oh yeah, we can win that next time. We do this better, we'll win next time. No, let's win it now. When we're in the moment, in the situation, let's win now. So I got UND in this game. I think it comes down to the quarterbacks. Obviously, Bo Brungard is gonna make it do what it do for Youngstown State, and then obviously Jared Kaminsky is a ball player, so he can do it with his legs, he can do it with his arm. I like UND in this game though too, but I think it's gonna be a quarterback matchup. I think it's gonna come down to Jared Kaminsky versus Bo Brungard. And yeah, so you guys let me know what you think about that in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay, real quickly, I want to get into some no huddle notes where we're talking about some things going on across the FCS landscape, the college football landscape. And first things first that I wanted to talk about, betting on professional sports is now legal for college athletes in the NCAA. So that's D1, D2, D3. All of them can bet on professional sports. They still cannot bet on college sports, but they can bet on professional sports, which is absolutely crazy, man. That's crazy. These guys can bet on professional sports. Like, now, I don't really, to be fair, when I was in college, I didn't necessarily understand why we couldn't bet on professional sports either. Like, I get not being able to bet on college sports. I get that. It's a slippery slope, and maybe even that's the reason why you don't want them betting on professional sports, because it's a slippery slope. It's like, oh, you bet on all this professional sports. It's like, oh, why not just bet on this one D3 game? Or why not just, I don't even know if there's lines for D3 games, but like, why not just bet on such and such game here or there? Like, hey, I get it. I get it. It's probably a slippery slope. It's probably an extremely slippery slope, but that is crazy. Sports betting is now legal for college athletes to a certain extent. Obviously, they can't bet on college sports, but professional sports, they can bet on it. I will be interested to see how this transpires because I think, I don't know, it's you're opening Pandora's box. You're opening it to a whole new host of things. I mean, when are we going to see the first athlete that's a current athlete sign a deal with a betting partner? And, oh, I'm only appealing to the professional fans and all. Like, when do we see that? When do we see that? Have we already seen that? I don't know. Next, you got Mercer versus Princeton. A couple of things about this Mercer versus Princeton game. First real test for an Ivy League school this season. Obviously, Harvard looks the way they look. Dartmouth, all the schools, they look good. But have they really played anybody yet? Brown beat Rhode Island. So, yes, some of them have played somebody, but like, is that more of an indictment on Rhode Island, or is that a sign that Brown may be good? I think it's more so an indictment on Rhode Island, and I don't think Brown is that good either, because Brown got beat down by Harvard, and then Rhode Island went in and lost to Brown. So I think that's more of an indictment against Rhode Island than it is for Brown. But Mercer versus Princeton, this will help give us an idea of just how good the Ivy League is. But also, Mercer is, I think, at the top of the SoCon right now in the standings. Them and Furman, I mean, they're all kind of tied because they're all undefeated in conference play right now. Furman, West Carolina, and Mercer. But hey, Mercer, I think, could be a playoff team. They've looked up and down this year. They lost to Presbyterian. Is that a good Presbyterian or just bad Mercer? I don't know. But I'm interested in that game, and I'm intrigued to see what the outcome is. Rhode Island versus New Hampshire. The only reason I put this game on here is because Rhode Island just lost to Brown, and obviously they moved down in the rankings, and I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, just like we thought last year, the Rhode Island team wasn't that good, and just like we are sensing this year, this Rhode Island team might not be that good. They have a chance to turn the tides. Obviously, New Hampshire's only like 3-3 this season. It's not like they've been super good, but they are a better football team. And if Rhode Island can get a decisive 3 to 4 score game win on them, I think that might shift the focus. Maybe Rhode Island just bumped their head against Brown. I'm of the belief that Rhode Island did not just bump their head against Brown. I don't think they're that great. I love Marquise Buchanan. He's really good. But outside of him, I don't think their team is very great. That's that. Next, we got Presbyterian versus Butler. Now, I know I don't talk about the Pioneer League a lot, and I probably won't throughout the most of the season until we get to the playoffs, but Presbyterian is undefeated, man, so we got to give them some credit. They're 5-0. Butler is 4-2. The Pioneer League usually only gets one team in the playoffs. For the last couple of years, that's been Drake. The team that gets in the playoffs usually does not make it past the first round, so, I mean, But Presbyterian's 5-0. I don't even think they're playoff eligible this year. Somebody can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But both these teams are undefeated in league play. So, Presbyterian has passed every test up to this point. This is the next test on their schedule. Those in-conference tests are different. Like, obviously, Presbyterian beat a good Mercer team. But in conference, it gets dicey, man. Like, these teams understand you. These coaches know each other. Like, there's things that go on in conference play that you don't always see in non-conference play. That's why conference play is so important. But Presbyterian versus Butler, I'm excited about that one. Villanova versus Elon. So obviously, Villanova lost to, who'd they lose to? Monmouth. And it wasn't particularly close. Like, they lost pretty decisively to Monmouth. Monmouth, really good offensive team. Defensively, where's the defense? But Villanova versus Elon. Elon is 4-2. Elon has lost some weird games too. I don't have their schedule pulled up right in front of me, and I'm not going to pull it up because I don't want things start tripping out when I start searching the web too much on the when I'm on OBS. But Villanova 3-2, Elon 4-2. Both of them have an ugly loss on their schedule. Villanova being the Monmouth loss, and then Elon. Elon lost to somebody that was like, I can't exactly remember who they lost to, but Elon has a loss on their schedule that is concerning. Or maybe they don't have a loss. Maybe they played 2 FBS teams, but I don't know if they played anybody. But this is an interesting game. Villanova is a ranked team currently. I think Villanova's still ranked. I think they're still in that stats perform ranking. And I think both teams are teams that you need to pay attention to. Will Elon be able to insert themselves in the conversation after this game? Will Villanova propel themselves after this game? I mean, I still don't know what to think about Villanova. I have no idea what to think about Elon. The CAA in itself is kind of becoming a bottom tier conference. You got really good football in the conference. You got really good quarterback play in the conference, but like, are there any true contenders? Currently, there are not. Will there be one to emerge? Since the exodus of James Madison from the CAA, we haven't really seen that conference really make a ton of noise. So Villanova versus Elon is a game to pay attention to. Got some really good ones to finish here. West Georgia versus Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian, I would compare to Elon. Really up and down. I don't know what to expect from them. They show me one thing one week, and then the next week they show me another thing. So I have no idea what to think about this team. I have no idea what to think. I just don't know. I just have no idea who this team is. I have no idea who they are. I don't think Abilene knows who they are. They play in the UAC. I believe they lost to Stephen F. Austin, but I think they beat Incarnate Word. Like, they're just up and down, man. And then West Georgia, they got their first loss of the season last week in week 6. They're 5-1 now, so they lost to Austin Peay, who's probably looking like one of the better teams in the UAC conference. So we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting with what shakes out with West Georgia. It'll be very interesting to see what shakes out with Abilene Christian as well. I think 2 of Abilene Christian's losses, I think, are FBS losses, and then they lost in FCS. No, I think they lost to Stephen F. I don't know. The UAC and Southland have been beating up on each other throughout the non-conference, and they still play now. They're still playing a few games now, so I don't know what to expect. But West Georgia being 5-1, can they bounce back? Can they show that they deserve to be in the conversation? I can't remember if they're playoff eligible or not. I don't think they are. But can West Georgia just make a statement and say, hey, we bumped our head last week against Austin Peay. That was a formidable opponent. But this week, we are coming with it. So I want to see something for West Georgia. Last 2 on here. The first one is Furman versus West Carolina. I mentioned the SoCon when we started. I was talking about Mercer. Now I'm talking about Furman and West Carolina. We just saw Teron Dickens break the record for most completions in a game with 46 straight completions. He ended the game with 53 of 46 or 53 of 56 at like 94% completion percentage. He had a really, really good game, but they didn't necessarily pull away. Like Wofford, who was defeated, was in that game the entire time, and they had a chance to win late in that game. Like, I don't think Western Carolina is very good. I think Teron Dickens is good. They don't play great defense, and against an 0-5 Wofford, they were in a nail biter. So like, I don't think they're very good. I don't think Furman is great either. Like, Furman's definitely not a contender, but like, I don't think Furman is a great football team, but I do think they're better than Western Carolina. I do think that. So Furman versus Western Carolina. I got Furman. I think both teams are both teams are undefeated in SoCon play right now. So both teams are going to threaten for the SoCon title. This is a game that will play and who controls their destiny and who does not. So I got Furman in that game, but who knows? Teron Dickens is a very good player. A lot of people have him as like a Walter Payton Award watch list guy, maybe a finalist type guy. I don't have him there yet. I think it's a lot of empty calories, but he's a good player nonetheless. So that is a game to pay attention to. Last but certainly not least, I think this probably should be the FCS game of the week. I don't know why it's not. Jackson State versus Alabama State. Jackson State 4-1. Alabama State 4-1. I don't know much about Jackson State, but Andrew Body of Alabama State is one of the top quarterbacks in the FCS. He is a good player. He had a hell of a game against UAB earlier on this season. Like, that is going to be a hell of a game, man. SWAC competition. I mean, it's exciting, man. Why don't we highlight this more? And truthfully, Alabama State, looking at how they've been and looking at who they are, Alabama State should probably be ranked. Alabama State should probably be a ranked team. Jackson State has been ranked for most of the season. Alabama State should probably be another HBCU school that is ranked. I don't look at the HBCUs a ton. I probably should be better about that. But when you look at the makeup of the Alabama State team and what they've done this season and who their players are, the pieces are, that's probably a team who could probably beat a lot of Big Sky competition, Missouri Valley competition. Same with Jackson State. Like, they would probably threaten some of those teams in some of the top tier conferences in the FCS. So Alabama State versus Jackson State is probably one of the best games that's going on in FCS football this weekend. Tap into that game. Make sure you tap into that game. But that's No Huddle Notes. You guys let me know what you think about the No Huddle Notes down below, and I will move on. Okay, I want to thank you guys so much for tapping into the channel. I want to thank you guys for viewing my videos. I know you guys saw I am partnered with Sportsbet Montana now. Super happy to be working with them in the Montana Lottery. Make sure you guys go check out Sportsbet Montana. They're my exclusive betting partner for Akem'S analysis and the Samuel Akem YouTube channel. So really excited about that. Really excited about homecoming weekend. Obviously, I'm a Montana alum, so I'm going to see a lot of friends this week, but I still am an objective media member, and I got to view the teams and the games for what I see, and I will give you that on my recap on Monday. So be on the lookout for me and Keenan to recap Montana. I'll drop an individual video for that, and then you guys can be on the lookout for my Akem'S analysis where I talk about Montana State, the rest of the FCS. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for that in the channel. Thank you guys for viewing my video, and I will catch you guys next time. See you later.